We're back here on Locked On Coyotes as Lawson Krause has a hat trick performance against the Ottawa Senators. We're going to talk about that win game. Plus, we got the Montreal Canadiens coming up tonight. We're going to talk about that as well on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlik. We want to thank everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Arizona Coyotes had a game yesterday. They played the Ottawa Senators 5-3, the final score. Lawson Krause with a hat trick, his first of his career. Not only that, Carl, but he scored his hat trick in 3 different ways.
Very nice, very nice. First Coyote to do that since Antoine Vermette, I believe, did it in 2014. Very impressive. Just really goes to show how much this team depends on a player like Krause. The fact that he was getting both shorthanded and power play minutes.
Shorthanded power play minutes, yeah, and that's what's awesome, right? You know, if you have a versatile player like that, like that's a player you want to hold on to. And that's
Absolutely.
And I think that's the reason why I think when we were doing our last trade talk, that was around the time when I think Craig Morgan put out what the Coyotes said would be like their essential protected list, like who they're not going to be trading at all. And Krause was, I think, one of those.
Yes. I'm not sure if it was around that time, but Craig Morgan has definitely reported that the Coyotes are not interested in trading Krause. He fits really well with pretty much any system. Like any coach or GM is going to want to have a tall, strong guy who can score goals. That's just like an essential piece in the NHL right now. And he really came to play. It it wasn't the best game for any Coyotes involved, but the fact that Krause was able to finish was definitely key to the team's success.
He really wanted to get, as good of a performance as he can because, it's nice to see the Coyotes win. I mean, obviously this is a rebuilding team, but like to beat a team like Ottawa because, you don't see them too often, 2 times a year. Not a good team, and so might as well go for the sweep.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy to think that when this year started, if you had asked either of us if the Coyotes were going to have a 20-goal scorer, I'm not sure either of us would have said yes. But Keller's already hit. Krause is at 18 goals on the season. Schmaltz is at 17. The Coyotes may have 3 20-goal scorers in their losing season. That's just kind of mind-blowing.
It is because like obviously when you think of a team that's not going to be winning, you think of we're not going to score a lot. There's going to be lack of offense, lack of anything for that matter.
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah, you said you have one player already there and 2 that are so freaking close, like
Right on the doorstep.
and we still got like a little over a month left.
Yeah, I think the tonight's game is going to be number 60, so 22 games left, 23. I'm not math; it's hard, but yeah, they still have plenty of time left to hit that plateau, and I really hope they do.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome to see. I think, and again, that's what let's rewind back to what we were saying at the beginning of the season, and trying to find silver lining as much as possible, because we know what this team is going to be about. We know that they're not going to be playing well. Like we knew this was going to be a bad team.
Absolutely, yeah. But like we said, each player is going to have something to motivate them. They're going to have plenty of opportunity. They're going to have like just anything that they need to find success if they can, other than like supporting offense. But if you can like show that you can play, you're going to get top minutes, you're going to get the, starting line, you're going to get everything that you need to succeed, and that's really coming through. I also do want to make sure that we highlight the play of Scott Wedgwood, who was just phenomenal. The Coyotes had 5 goals on 15 shots,
Yeah.
so they finished when they could. Scott Wedgwood, on the other hand, made 40 saves on 43 shots. So just a completely different picture on the other end of the ice. Really, like Wedgwood was like cued in the entire game. It was great to see.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the other stats too on this, and just to see how much possession the Senators had, like how much chances they had. Their Corsi, Carl, was 82 in comparison to the Coyotes 27.
27 may be one of the lowest Corsi numbers I've seen for a team in a game that they won. Which I still just want to keep that in mind. The Coyotes somehow won this game. And it wasn't like they took an early lead and were in a defensive shell for everything. Because we get that sometimes. Like you'll see a team, they'll hop out to like a 3-0 lead. They're just like, all right, we're gonna sit back, we're gonna try not to lose. Usually it doesn't work out for them, but that's besides the point. The Coyotes, like the Senators scored first. The Coyotes like managed to get the lead. Senators tied it back up on the power play. And then until Lawson Krause's shorthanded goal 16 minutes into the second period, it was a tie game, and the Ottawa Senators were still just dominating possession.
And I mean, that's what I'm trying to look at here, because it said, I'm just looking at it, 27-9, 29-6 Corsi. It's like, what?
Uh, it's what I tell people is the go-to way against the Coyotes to play against them, to just like make sure that they don't have any time and space, make them play in their own zone, and credit to the Ottawa Senators. They had a game plan and they pulled it off to a T, but the Coyotes just capitalized on like those brief opportunities that they got, and it's something you really see.
It is. It's awesome. It's the most fun I love looking at too is expected goals, because it gives you an idea of who really should have won this game.
Oh, what were
If
the expected goals?
so, I'll kind of round it here, because it's they put points, but essentially flip the score.
Mm. Wait, so you're saying the Coyotes were expected to score 3 goals? That doesn't sound right either.
It says, well, 2.32.
Ah, that also seems very high. Again, the Coyotes had 15 shots on goal. I was expecting like one and a half, but 2.3. That's craziness.
Yeah, versus the 4.71 for Ottawa.
Yeah. Which I was talking to the Ottawa Silver Suns briefly on Twitter, and they mentioned that they wanted to get to 50 shots. I was like, yeah, I don't think Wedgwood's had a 45 save game yet. The Melkas had 3. So these like lopsided games are not unusual for the Coyotes, and winning them is not unusual for the Coyotes. Um, because the team is just able to stand up and like support each other in the limited ways that they can. And it's absolutely not a recipe for long-term success. I hope that they do better against the Montreal Canadiens, which we'll be talking about. But it's fun to watch them steal games sometimes.
Keep an eye out on how they've been growing as a team over the last 60 games. Right, each time they start looking a little bit more competitive. They bring something else out that makes them look a little bit better. Obviously, this game was kind of weird just because, again, they didn't get shots on, but they were still able to freaking steal it, which
Yeah.
is like they find ways to win in ways that like just seems absolutely crazy. And like you said, is it viable for long term success? No, of course not.
No.
But the Coyotes are going to be, over the next couple of years, adding new talent. And this is part of the rebuild system. The rebuilding system. You take one piece out, you put a new piece in. It's like, all right, let's see how this works.
Yeah.
Um,
And in general, the Coyotes also just have some young players that are going to continue to improve. Like we are seeing Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz have the best seasons of their career. They're older. Uh, it makes me wonder what is Barrett Hayton going to be like in a couple years? What is Matthias Michelli going to be like? Uh, Dyson Mayo, he has been looking really good like this season, stepping in as a full time NHL blue liner. What's he going to be like? I don't know. Hopefully, they just continue to improve.
That's the most important part. And I would love to see it in the years to come. But once again, the Arizona Coyotes take a 5-3 win over the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa. And one thing I'll say is, if you took the over,
I really tried to outthink that game. Like thinking back on what I said, I was just like, yeah, these two teams, they know each other. They've played each other over a week ago. Like I imagine they'll like do things differently. And I was kind of right, but I underestimated the Coyotes' ability to just find a way.
uh, it's also hockey. You never know.
In
You
hockey.
never know. Anyway, so we still got more to get to on this episode of Lockdown Coyotes. It's time to take a look ahead because they're on a second game of a back-to-back tonight. They got the Montreal Canadiens over there, and that's going to be in Montreal. So we're going to talk about that game in just a moment. But first, a quick word from Carl.
So it's that time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. And for all the odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and information. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline has a continued source of coverage for sports wagering information. That includes things like live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. What I want you to do is head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So, back here on Lockdown Coyotes, once again, Robyn Leonio and Carl Pavlik. Arizona Coyotes are on the second game of a back-to-back at the Montreal Canadiens. That is set for a 4 p.m. start.
Yep.
Once again,
Another
so
early one.
it's not an early one. This one's about half an hour earlier than the previous one. Um, and here we go. But again, two teams that are in the bottom. Let's see if they're gonna try to. But also two teams that have been winning lately.
Yeah. And it's funny. The Coyotes have already swept Toronto Maple Leafs this month. They've swept the Ottawa Senators. Can they get the final Eastern Canadian team? We shall see.
Wouldn't that be nice? Not only that, but for the for Coyotes fans to say here that they swept just under half of the
Of Canada.
Of Canada.
That would be quite a thing to see.
It would be quite a thing indeed. It'll be fun. We get to poke fun at some of our fellow hosts.
I mean, if you're losing to the Coyotes this year, there's probably something wrong with your team. You should probably like consider stuff. Like the Coyotes lost to the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs, and it caused existential dread. I can only imagine how the Montreal Canadiens would feel if they lost to the Coyotes and were swept by the Coyotes this year. Just be like, what were we even doing?
One thing I imagined is after they swept Toronto, wouldn't surprise me if Toronto had like a all players meeting and be like, "All right, what the hell has happened?"
Yeah, I mean,
um,
like the Toronto Maple Leafs, that one I do think they can kind of fall back on the it was a blown call in
yeah,
overtime. Uh I imagine if that is the Toronto Maple Leafs style, though, that's probably not a good indicator of their future success. You don't want to have everything decided in overtime if you're the
Ot-
Toronto Maple Leafs playing the Coyotes.
yeah, Ottawa's probably going with the players meeting
Yeah, I mean, I'd hope Ottawa does.
based off the way that those games have gone. Like, come on.
Yeah.
uh, and we'll see if Montreal does the same. Because again, if you get swept by the Coyotes, something is wrong.
I mean, yeah. I did see just before we started recording, Ben Sherratt is going to be held out for the game. It looks like the Canadians are looking to trade him, so they don't want to see him get hurt against the Coyotes, which probably a good sign. I don't know if you looked at the Montreal Canadiens injury list. It is extensive.
I have not taken the. I was trying to bring it out. I have like 500,000 tabs open. I think I mentioned this before. Like when we do these podcasts, like I try to, it's like all over the place.
Yeah.
But oh my god, wow, yeah, that is an extensive list.
Yeah. And we will unfortunately be seeing or missing former Coyotes Christian Dvorak and Tyler Pitlick. Dvorak out with the upper body. Pitlick out for personal reasons. I haven't seen that. I'm kind of curious. Need to check that out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that one is about.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's usually never good. Like if someone's leaving for personal reasons, unless the birth of a child, that's kind of like the one exception for like a good thing that happens. Normally it's something unfortunate, but yeah, it'll be if the Coyotes can like start with energy, if they can, set the pace of the game, I think they're gonna have a good chance on this one. But if they let another team dictate control, like they did against the Ottawa Senators, like even with solid goaltending, I don't know if you can do that twice in a row and make it work.
no, I don't think so either. Because again, these teams will eventually kind of figure out the goaltenders and like, oh, maybe enough chances we'll get by.
Yeah.
And then that's just going to create problems. Maybe it can create more of those confidence problems with Arizona. They go back into their shell. They go into the collapse, and then you know how the rest goes.
Yeah, we absolutely do. It's funny watching games now. You can just kind of catalog the way that things are going wrong. So like yesterday, that was a classic slow start. Then there was a second period implosion where they just didn't give up any goals. Those are rare, but they happen. The Coyotes have had some horrible second periods, and you would never know it by looking at the score sheet unless you went down to like shots or started looking at possession numbers. And then would you even call that a third period recovery? I wouldn't. They had,
No.
they had 6 shots. One of them wasn't into an empty net though. So
Yeah. One thing I'm looking at right now, though, is that the Coyotes will be seeing one former player
mm.
in Laurent Dauphin.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot he went over to Canada or to the Canadians. When was that? Because didn't he go
Um,
to the Chicago Blackhawks first?
yeah, that trade happened, or was it a trade? Was it? Yeah, I think it was a trade. Um, I can't remember. It was. I think it was a while ago.
Uh, it definitely someone to see. Um, and another former Roadrunner, which does just kind of go to show you how good the Coyotes have been at developing players. Even if they don't end up in the Coyotes, it's still a win if they can, play in the NHL.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's the coolest thing, right? You're seeing seeing what what the Roadrunners development has done. Obviously, like I love following where any Roadrunners players go. Um, like when we got to see Michael Bunting the other day with Toronto and plus a few others. You know, when we see Connor Garland against Vancouver, or Dylan Strome against Chicago.
Yeah.
You name it. Like it's just fun to see.
It'll be interesting to see if we see Connor Garland with a team that's not the Vancouver Canucks this year.
Wouldn't that be interesting? With the trade deadline coming up in just under a week,
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting.
it'll be an interesting time.
Couple things to take a look at before we move on. Starting goaltenders, it's probably Vimelka because back to backs. That's how it works. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, like it's not common to go for the same goaltender, but at the same time, you have both goaltenders, right?
Yeah,
They're healthy. Might as well use them. So
that's what I think. That's what I predicted. We'd get Vimelka. Bear does seem to be pretty good at resting players for back to backs. We've seen it for skaters. We've seen it for goalies. It. I do not necessarily foresee Wedgwood getting the start again, unless he's just been like lights out in practice and Vimelka's been shaky. Like that's definitely the one area where even if we were able to like go see the team, they're in Canada. We can't watch their practices right now.
yeah, absolutely. But then I looked at the Montreal Canadiens goaltender, and for a minute, I'm just like, I'm sorry, who is this?
Yeah. That
Samuel Montembeault.
what are Samuel's stats? How has he played?
Um, he's 7-12-5 with 3.6 goals against average and 897 save percentage.
That's not that good. Where did he play last season?
I have no idea. Let me go. Had to go click on his profile and see. Uh, was it from Florida? Yeah, Florida
With the Panthers or?
with the Panthers.
Hmm.
14 games with the Panthers and 11 games with the Springfield Thunderbirds.
Okay.
And then finished off the season with 13 with the Syracuse Crunch.
Man, like the Montreal, did they just like not realize you need goaltender depth?
I don't know. I guess not.
Because Carey Price went down, and it looks like their plan was, but I mean, no one really foresaw Scott Wedgwood or Karol Vejmelka having big years with the Coyotes. So, like, I'm not gonna count him out just because he doesn't have a lot of experience. He's not who we expect.
Well, I think I'm looking at it. I think Montembeault, have hope that's how you pronounce his name, is what a fifth or sixth stringer because Carey Price is obviously out as you mentioned since even before the season began.
Yeah.
Jake Allen is out. Andrew Hammond is out. Then you have Caden Primo from emergency loan and Samuel Mountain. Well, like
Yeah, things are not going great for the Montreal Canadiens, just in terms of injuries.
yeah, for some reason they're still winning games.
Yeah, they finished up February with a 5-game win streak, so that's pretty impressive.
It is indeed. We still got more to get to though on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're gonna go to our picks of the game, who we think is gonna win, if this game is gonna go more points, less points, whatever it is. All in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you guys that this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. The ever-increasing number of makes and models is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure Often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? Well, wait for the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse happens to carry. When you have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket, why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain or a car dealership when you can go to Rock Auto, a family business doing do-it-yourself for over 20 years? Because their prices are reliably low for every customer, and they have everything you could possibly need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. And go ahead and check it out yourself, guys. Go to rockauto.com and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Let's finish things off now with our Bet Online picks of the game, because we got to take a look and see who's favored and what we think this game is going to go. And Carl, our lines for today: Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs at minus
Really?
180, with at plus 140 the money line. Total points set to 6.
Weren't the Canadians one of the few teams that the Coyotes were favored against the
Yeah,
first time they played?
the first time the Coyotes were favored. I think the Coyotes have only been favored in 2 games this season, all season long, against the Montreal Canadiens the first time, and against the Seattle Kraken their second time.
Gotcha. And that's just really, well, I would say it's surprising, but if you're looking at the matchup holistically, the fact that the Coyotes played last night is a detriment. Um, they didn't have to travel too far. They still had to travel, so I could see why Montreal is the favorite. I'm not sure I buy that though. I do think this one.
Plus, give home venue advantage too.
Eh, I guess.
This one we actually can give home venue advantage. Montreal has got a better home venue because we talk again. As I mentioned last time, you don't give home venue advantage to Ottawa because there is no home venue advantage.
Yeah.
Montreal actually does.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I still have the Coyotes. I finished my lesson overthinking games. I'm gonna go Coyotes 5-4 in regulation.
5-4 Coyotes in regulation. Um, I'm gonna go a little bit a little bit less scoring,
Okay. Okay.
but same point spread: 4-3 Arizona Coyotes.
Okay. So we both kind of think this game's gonna be a little bit tighter. Still a high scoring affair though. At this point, like I know I've mentioned that the Coyotes offense can be hot and cold, and they absolutely can. It seems like it's hot right now. We should just assume it's going to be hot until like the near future. Who knows? This could be just what things are from now on for the Arizona Coyotes.
What's next? A hat trick or like a 8 point game from. Ooh, I gotta see who's due. Um, Schmaltz had a performance last week. We had Krause with his performance. Keller's just been doing Keller. Who are we
Uh,
thinking?
Phil Kessel, maybe. He had a really good assist on Krause's first goal.
Maybe Phil Kessel. As I try to bring my chart back up. Yeah, let's get something from Phil Kessel. Have fun.
I mean, I will say this, something that I didn't get a chance to mention in the first segment. Barrett Hayton had the empty net goal against the Senators. He made a phenomenal defensive play to clear the zone on the penalty kill. Um, I think he has looked great defensively. I would love for him to have a high offense game.
Absolutely. Hayton's been awesome on that too. So there's a few people
Yeah.
that can have a good game. Um, It would be even more funny is I'm looking at if they decided to play Michael Carcone. If he, because I look at that on Cat Friendly, his name it was brought up.
Yeah. He played with who did he play with last night? He played with Michelli and I think Richie.
What
That
a
was a pretty.
line! What a
Yeah.
line!
And don't sleep too much on Richie, people. He has 4 goals, 2 assists in 8 games with the Coyotes. He seems to be working for him in a way it wasn't working in Toronto. So there are plenty of like opportunities abound for the Coyotes if players out there want to find success.
Absolutely, it's gonna be a pretty fun game to watch this one and see who's gonna have a pretty decent performance. But once again, so look at our lines. We both picked this would go over, essentially
Hmm.
based off our scoring prediction. And because of how tight it is, we can either give Montreal the points. No, I mean it would be the Arizona. So Arizona the points, which would be minus 180 or plus 140 for the money line if you're that confident.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, I may go with the Coyotes getting the points this time. I'm not sure how confident I am in them winning. I'm a little bit more confident in them keeping it tight.
All right, so giving Arizona Coyotes the points. Yeah, I want to go money line, but at the same time, like you know, I did money line last time,
Yeah.
and I was pretty confident about that one. Although I don't know if I can go 2 for 2 on a back to back. So
And I was not confident in my last prediction, and it was very wrong. So I am a little bit more cautious this time. I'm not really going it too big, too
So I'll
bold.
so I'll take the points as well. Um, but those are our picks. You can take it as you will if you decide to gamble. And once again, if you are somebody who is using some of our advice or just is gambling on these hockey games, please don't forget to gamble responsibly.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that is it for this episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you're yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media on Facebook, facebook.com/Locked On Coyotes, on Instagram at Locked On Coyotes, on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlik is Carl Pavlik FFH. You can follow us, interact with us, DM us, whatever, and ask us a question. We can answer them right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. Don't forget to howl on.